Hey guys, so let me go over what would have happened if all you did was move up your stop right before you're gonna sell it, right? So this is a good strategy to maximize your gains. However, it's not always gonna work like this. This was just a very perfect example of it working with perfect flow and perfect market conditions. Okay, so the flow here. So this is what they hit. So they hit this for a 1.1 million above that sweeper, the 9 and the 17 2021s, strike 220s. Okay, now let's go over. Okay, now, so if you look at this, right, you're looking at this exactly the day that they hit it at 211.65. Ignore everything on the top. I'm gonna explain this on the video. Okay, so let me see. Let's go on the 3 minute time frame. Let me zoom out. Okay, so right around this area right here was where they hit it, and this is where I marked it at 265, 211.65. Next day, if you bought it next day, it got up to 216, and you could have probably 100 buck chucked it. Now we'll see it kind of consolidated at this point, and you were probably red for a while. But then if you bought here, you could have actually 100 buck chucked it again. All right. Now, this is the fun part. Ignore everything on the top. So, what you could have done here was you could have actually let the trade run a little bit, and you could have probably sold it up here for 80% gains. And I believe this is around 50 and 30. I'm not sure, but we could always go back and look at the deltas. But what you could have done was when the stock was up here, you could have just put a stop loss right here. Put the stop loss here and then see how far it's going to run. Because this candle here, they could have actually broke it down and it could have actually sold here and then you'll be out of the trade, but you would still be green. And that would still be a good play, right? Okay, so the next day what happened was it actually still wanted to run. So this stop, you could have actually moved it up here and you could actually moved it up here because now you're getting closer, right? So probably around this area up here, you could have moved the stop up here. Ignore this line for now, right? And if you kept looking at it, you would have probably not gone stopped out. But when you got to this day, what you could have actually done was this stop, you'll put it right here. You don't want to put it here, or you don't want to put it at the previous low of day because you might get stopped out, which is what it could have actually happened. You could have just used it at the previous high of day, but you want to put it just probably a few pennies below it, just in case it hits it and then it bounces back. Okay, so now let's look at the daily. Let's see what happened on that move. All right, so here's exactly what happened, right? Because the daily is a better time frame. This candle consolidated, right? Consolidated in this area here. It actually it had a hard time breaking 216, and when it finally did, this huge candle here, and also got on top of the 21 moving average, and also the 34. It kind of passed through the 34 EMA, right? Then we're gonna talk about these three candles here. Looks like when you moved up your stop here, the green one, right? Now, it actually had trouble coming through the 55 EMA. Now, what could have happened here was it would try to break this, then it could have sold, and the yield have sold around 225.26, which is fine, right? If it actually went down. So then what happened next was they got on top of 55 MA and kind of rejected off the 89 EMA right over here, this huge candle. And let's go talk about that on the smaller time frame now, because it's kind of important to figure out where you're at. Oops, where are we? Here we are. Okay, so again, you had your stop here, then it went up all the way up here. So if you let it run up to here, again, if this happened, if this area here is sold off, it would have sold off here. But let's just say that you didn't sell anything. Ignore this. Let's just say that you held it. You could have moved this stop or one of these stops up to here. You don't want to put it at 232.99 because that could be an area where it would have retested and you would have got stopped out. Okay, so you would have put it here. Now what happened was, next day after that, you could have literally, if you were ready to sell, you could have put it at 237.55, right underneath the low of the previous day. You could have just held it, and then if it sold here, that's fine because you're gonna sell at 237.55. That's huge gains already. But then if you held it, here's the fun part. If you held this, for some reason it still wanted to keep going, so it gapped up. You can see that it gapped up right here. At this point, you should have already sold, or sold a majority of your position already, because this is already a good play. If you're up here and you moved up your stop, you could have literally put it right here. However, what you could have actually done was you could have put it just below the gap, because if this happens to dip and hits this candle here and then rips, it's gonna go down and up, then he would have got stopped out and he would have missed the other move. But it looks like it actually held the gap, which is pretty bullish at this point, right? Now, if you're here, then you're like, all right, I'm ready to sell. Just put it right at the top of the gap. Okay. Now, this is where you should have already sold, because not because it just keeps going up, because ER is on the next 2 days. So this is a huge bonus, and you would have probably sold here or here or here, because you don't want to hold it through ER, because who knows what would have happened, right? So that's how you're doing. So if you look back, let's go back. Like literally, it never stopped. I mean, it never triggered, never triggered, never triggered, never triggered. It never triggered. It never triggered. It never triggered, and it never triggered. Then we're also using the moving averages as support and resistance, because it lands right on them. Because if you look on the left, I mean, you could also draw your lines as support and resistance, but the moving averages at this point actually worked out pretty well. Okay, so that's Coupa software. I know it was long, but this is just a cool strategy that will help you maximize your gains. Take this as a grain of salt, because it might not work with every single play out there, and I'm just some dude who follows plays on black box flow. But anyways, thanks a lot for listening. It does kind of long. You could actually read the blog, and it's at abovetheas.com. I'm gonna post the link on the description just so you can review it. All right, cool. Thanks, guys.